is Stephen Greenhut. We've got his book up on LarryElder.com. It's called Winning the Water Wars. California can meet its water needs by promoting abundance rather than managing scarcity. Stephen, the question on the table before we took a break was, why are people like AOC, why are the Greenies winning? Why have they convinced so many people that we need to be talking about conservation and scarcity as opposed to promoting abundance and doing what we can technologically to address our growing needs?
Well, I don't think they're winning when they debate is put out there, right? I mean, a former generation of Democrats like Pat Brown, built the the state water project and built a lot of the infrastructure we have here. I mean, the philosophy of the Democratic Party has changed quite a bit over the years, but I think a lot of it's based on the fact that a lot of people don't know really that most of these decisions are based on bureaucratic decisions. The federal bureaucrats, as the feds control the Central Valley Project, state bureaucrats, and this whole environmental way of thinking. And again, I'm not against environmentalism in terms of we need to protect the environment and we need to use water in a careful way. But this it's like an ideology that's taken root that basically views humanity as a problem. And I think a lot of these folks like the idea of conservation in and of itself. Now, conservation is fine. In fact, if we had better pricing, people would conserve more naturally. The state, state residents have met every single one of our conservation targets. In Arizona, for instance, where I had just looked up this number, the state uses less water than it did in 1957 when the population was 1/7 of its size. So it's not a problem. And in California, it's amazing the conservation goals that we hit. But it's never enough, right? It's more conservation, and then you point out where most of the water goes, that half of it just goes out to the sea, and it doesn't seem to stop them. The solution is just to build water projects, to invest in innovation and desalination and boosting our dam capacity so when it does rain, we store more water, doing water recycling, all sorts of things we can do. I just don't think that the bureaucrats or the state leaders are really focused on meeting our water needs. They're just not.
Stephen, I read that almond farmers here in California are losing a lot of money because they're not getting enough water for their crops. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I haven't looked specifically, at the almonds. I mean, that uses a lot of water, and I do argue for, a pricing system. I mean, there are a lot of subsidies built within the system, so we do need, more market situation, right? But a lot of, but these are important farms, and we have the SGMA, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, which we have a little bit of a tragedy of the commons is that as the water flows have been limited, farmers pump more and more groundwater, and that causes subsidence, which is, the compaction of soil. It's a big problem. So the state passed a law that, that kind of tries to meter to some degree limit the use of groundwater. The problem is, but a lot of the southern San Joaquin Valley, a lot of the farms are going to be fallow because of that, and it's going to cost a lot of farm jobs, and a lot of different types of crops won't be able to be grown. So the way to deal with that is again through abundance. So yes, I think it's okay to try to manage the groundwater, but we also have to find ways to get water to the farms that don't have access to the water now, and more water solves all the problems, right? It helps the farms, which we need. I mean, the San Joaquin Valley and these are great agricultural land, some of the most productive land in the world. It helps urban users. It helps the environment. If you have more water, you're able to revive river systems. So the focus ought to be on getting more water into the system, and that's not the focus right now.
Stephen Greenhut is my guest. Stephen, when we come back, I want to talk to you about weather, about drought. To what degree is drought causing this problem? Even with droughts, do you feel that we could still grow our way out of this problem by investing along the lines of what you talked about? Stephen Greenhut is my guest. His book is Winning the Water Wars.